Book one runs all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy to have affordable housing that works, no other than Mr. Edward Poteat.
Hey guys, how are you?
Well, I'm fabulous and excellent, Mr. Edward. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
I am happy to. My name is Ed Poteat. I am an affordable housing developer in New York City. I was born and raised in the wonderful village of Harlem, New York, in New York City. And I've been doing affordable housing development now for about 25 years. I'm a graduate of Yale University, and I've also written a book concerning affordable housing and the urban environment. And I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Edward. Thank you. So today, let's talk about affordable housing. You choose to work in affordable housing, isn't it, Mr. Edward? A field known for the margin, thick regulations, and endless community meetings. What is first pulled you to into this work, and what keeps you there?
That's a great question. I'm a proud member of Gen X, and for us Gen Xers, when we grew up in cities, they weren't as great as they are now. I grew up in New York in the 80s and 90s, and it was really rough. So coming out of college, I wanted to give back to my community because back then there were all types of issues with drugs and crime. For example, New York had a murder rate which was 9 times than what it is now. So it was a very dangerous city back then, and I wanted to build it back. And I figured there were a lot of vacant properties everywhere where I grew up in Harlem, and I wanted to figure out how to give back and then build up those structures. And that's what got me into affordable housing. And again, I've been doing it ever since for now 20 plus years.
And congratulations, Mr. Edward, because housing is very important to everyone. There's a moment at every project where it will be easier to walk away. What is the North Star that keeps you fighting for a development when you anything seems to go wrong?
Uh, that we don't have enough time to kind of talk about all that. But I tell you what keeps me going on, which is I grew up in Section 8 housing. And when I grew up in it, I really felt like the developers and landlord could care less about us as tenants living in the building. You know, we were people of color, we were working class or poor, and no one, cared about the outcomes that we had. So I said to myself, when I become a developer, I would make sure that the residents living in my building, we've done, 1,500 units, apartments over the past probably 11 years, that they would know that we care about their outcomes different than when I grew up. So when I see tenants in my building really doing nothing, living their lives, it makes me smile because I'm like, their life is more pleasant because of the work that we do.
Interesting, Mr. Edward. How do you personally define success for a project? Is it the ribbon cutting, the financial close, or something invisible like the dignity a family feels when they come home?
The dignity a family feels when they come home has got to be number one. It's really got to be number one. Otherwise, why keep going? The same skills you use to build affordable housing, you can build luxury housing. We've done one or two buildings which were luxury. It's the same thing. So really caring about being mission driven is important. The way we define success, we're a triple bottom line firm. Our buildings have to be environmentally friendly. That's important. We don't want to make the earth worse. We do have to raise capital for the products that we do. Our latest project was two buildings, about $225 million, 330 apartments, right in the heart of Central Harlem in New York City. Um, and so we have to make money for the investors that we work with. But all that is secondary to the dignity of the families that live in our buildings, because that really is why I do what I do.
So, Mr. Edward, do you ever drive by a building you developed years ago and wonder about the lives inside? What would you ask the families living there if you could?
Well, first, Daniel, call me Ed. That my dad is Mister. Call me Ed, Edward. Please don't call me Mister. And yeah, that I think deeply about the families living in those buildings. When I grew up, for example, there was a fire in the complex that I lived in. It killed 7 people. Few were friends of mine. Where I grew up, there was an incident called the Central Park Five, which is fairly famous. Came from the complex that I grew up in. And that's before talking about the rampant crime that was in the complex that I grew up in and where in the neighborhood that I grew up in. So I really want to make sure that the young people growing up in my developments, the moms growing up in my developments, the dads, the grandparents, literally have a better quality of life because of the work that we do. And I'm hopeful that 99% of the time, that's actually true.
Mr. Edward or Mr. Ed, this is my brand, so I will call you Mr. Ed
Call
instead.
me Ed.
Okay.
Call me Ed. Call me Ed. Just,
It's a part of my brand, okay,
no.
Mr. Ed? So, my apologies. The phrase affordable housing sounds simple, but financing is anything but. Can you walk us through what it actually takes to make the math work on a typical project?
Yeah, that is actually very important. A lot of people are interested in building affordable housing, and they should be. It's important. But what it takes to finance it is actually fairly complicated. I wear a lot of hats, but it's all around affordable housing. I also teach affordable housing finance at Columbia on the graduate school level. And so we talk about the emergence of policy, which is, yeah, build more affordable housing, help people with how do you pay for it. So we pay for it with a combination of private equity, debt, and also subsidies from the city and state. So each of our products are really public-private partnerships because we need involvement from the private market as well as involvement from governments. But that's how we get projects done, are those three forms of capital.
You're dealing with the low income housing tax credits, isn't
We
it?
are.
So, bans, gap financing, and often a patchwork of a local or federal dollars.
Mhm.
Which layer of funding is the hardest to secure and why?
Clearly, the federal tax credits and the federal subsidies. I have this conversation often. Our biggest investors and our most important investors are the government entities that have trust with working with us. Because without them, that this can't happen. I don't want to get too wonky, but I will for half a second, which is the cost of capital that goes into affordable housing must be less than the cost of capital for a market rate project. It's that simple. And so our job as developers is to find the cheapest forms of capital to finance our projects. So government funding is tantamount to that process for us.
Interesting, Mr. Ad. With the construction costs and interest rates, where they do right now, or where they are right now, and how's the development equation change? Are there projects that simply can't change or can't get built in this environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, we aren't here to talk politics. I'm a Democrat, uh, but and I'm no fan of Donald Trump. However, in the big beautiful tax bill, and again, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump at all. That they actually made positive provisions for the creation of affordable housing. And in some ways that they did things to double the funding that's going out to various states for affordable housing. So things have actually gotten better over the past year because of those changes in our tax code that came from that tax bill. Rates have modulated and started going down, and so that the story for the past 6 months has been better than the story for the past 18 months when rates were higher and there was less help from government, from the federal government.
Mr. Ed, you mentioned minimizing reliance on public subsidies to streamline closing and accelerate delivery. Why is it such priority and what does it allow you to do differently?
Yeah. In this interview, you had mentioned earlier, how do you do this with the phalanx, with the huge stack of regulations you have to deal with? Regulations are actually a cost uh, because time is money. So every delay caused by a regulation is more money that the project has to spend just to keep going. If you can make projects happen quicker, you actually save actual dollars. So regulations cost money. And so one of the things I advocate for is lowering regulations substantially when it comes to the creation of just affordable housing so that you can bring it in cheaper. If states and cities don't have more money to pump into affordable housing, and we see where uh, the Republicans are going with HUD, they aren't making it bigger, then another way to inject capital, right, quote unquote capital, into a project is to lessen the regulations.
Ed, very well said, Mr. Ed. Every affordable housing developer knows the phrase, not in my backyard.
Right.
What is the most surprising or frustrating opposition you face, and how did you navigate it?
Oh my God. Um, I'm laughing. It's called, we call it NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. I think every project that I've done has faced some NIMBYism. Our latest project is called Marcus Garvey Village. We built two buildings side by side. Uh, again, right in the heart of Central Harlem. One block from the world famous Apollo Theater. One building was a market rate building, uh, very high rents, 170 apartments. The building right next door to it was 170 apartments, fully affordable, right, for families who are at the poverty line or who are working families. I'm very proud of the project because we give new housing opportunities to everyone, right? Whether you make multiple six figures or whether you're a working teacher. Um, we faced community opposition on that project from every angle. We had homeowners in the neighborhood saying, please don't bring in any more affordable housing. We don't want it, it's going to lower our property values. We had residents in the neighborhood saying, please don't build any luxury housing because we need much more affordable housing. We ultimately gave housing that serviced the entire community. And I think that's really how you deal with it, which is you have to first understand the fears of that community. A lot of developers kind of try to trample over it, ignore it, go beyond it. We talk directly to those fears. We spend a lot of time listening to local communities, understanding what they need, and then being very transparent about what we can or cannot do in our development to satisfy what their fears are. We get it right most of the time. Sometimes we don't, but that's the process that we go through to address NIMBYism.
So, Mr. Ed, you have to organize critical community support,
Right.
right? And make presentations before public bodies and community groups. And how do you walk into the room full of skeptical neighbors and earn their trust?
I tell you something.
Hmm.
I several years. So we've done a lot of work with churches, and it's been great for us, right? We help churches kind of repurpose themselves, and then we build housing above them. One time I was talking with a minister, and he gave me a piece of advice that has stuck with me. We were talking for hours back and forth, yelling and screaming. He stopped everyone. It was us as developers talking to the church board. And he stopped everyone and said, guys, listen, there's a lot of talking here. Tell me what you're fearful of. Because that's really what all this talk is about, is that you're afraid of a thing. So express what you're afraid of. And then let's figure out how to deal with those fears. I've always held that. And so when I walk into a room full of skeptical folk, I don't try to talk over them. That we say, listen, tell us what your fears are. Let's have a frank conversation. What are you afraid of that you might think that we're going to do? And let's get right at it. We don't have to talk around it, talk over it. Let's get right to it so then we can have a real conversation.
Mr. Ad, as you providing a affordable housing, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My long-term goal is to make sure every poor community of color feels like they are heard, um, especially when it comes around housing, and that nobody lives in substandard housing. Obviously, all that I can do is what I can do in my little pocket, but that's also why that I teach, right? So that I can spread that gospel to bright, Columbia University students, so they can go out if they're going to Texas or California. I have international students, and they're going back to Asia, spreading that gospel that housing is important and nobody should live in substandard housing. So ultimately, just making sure that housing around the country gets better, and it's possible. My short-term goal is to make sure the products that I'm working on, again, satisfy the needs of the community that I'm working in. We have a wonderful project going up in the South Bronx right now, 150 apartments, again, fully affordable housing. And so we're going to be bringing in 150 families who are working class that otherwise couldn't afford that housing to brand new apartments and brand new housing. So we'll just keep on going until I can't keep doing this anymore.
Well, Mr. Ad, good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to have the same advocacy that you are
Ah,
doing?
sure. One is that it's hard, so learn to enjoy the process. But that's with anything, right? But as a member of Gen X, I would tell younger folk, if you're a millennial or Gen Z, enjoy the process. That's really important because if you're focused on the goal, it gets too difficult. If you enjoy the process, then the goal is secondary. I would say when it comes to advocacy, really, understand the communities that you want to help. Listen more than talk to them. There's real wisdom in every community. They just need help kind of getting their voice out there. If you're going to advocate for a community, it's important that you advocate for them, not what you think they want, but what they actually want. So, what that means is that you have to start first by listening, then understanding, and then advocating.
Mm, definitely. Listen, people, listen. And thank you for that empowering advice, Mr. Edward. So, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, I'm going to recommend two books. One, it's a book that I wrote called The Fiscal Cliff that deals with cities and what makes cities either rise or fail in this country. So pick that one up, The Fiscal Cliff. The other one is The Power Broker by Robert Caro. And he wrote the book about a bureaucrat called Robert Moses, who at the middle of last century was very influential in the landscape of New York City. So if you want to learn about development and urban planning on a very big scale, Robert Caro's book, The Power Broker, is an awesome book. The Fiscal Cliff by your own Ed Poteat is also an awesome book, so read both of them.
Thank you for that recommended books, Mr. Ad. And For the young person listening who feels cold to this work but does not know where to start, what skills actually matter? Do you need to love finance, love people, or love politics?
All of it. You gotta love all of it. Um,
All of it. Okay.
all of it. I was a banker before I started doing this work in my 20s. And spent 4 or 5 years being trained as a banker, real estate banker. I've spent time as an elected official, and I lived in a suburb of New York City called Mount Vernon. So I've spent a lot of times, kind of either in politics there or working with politicians in New York City and the products that I build. Again, that I grew up in Section 8 housing. I grew up with a working class family. So I love people. That's why I do this work, is to make sure that people growing up like I grew up grow up better. So you gotta love all of it.
Well, thank you for that empowering answer, Mr. Ad. Before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season. Abstract poetry in its third season, and my book 101 review in sixth season as well, and my food 101 in the sixth season, a comedy 101 fourth season, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 fourth season or fifth season, science 101, sex 101 and it's fourth season, and trivia 101, spiritual awakening, law 101, mental health 101, coaching 101, entrepreneurship 101, of course, Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Ad, what is the all over when you look back at a career of building affordable homes? What do you hope your legacy is?
Really, just helping people, helping people, and making sure that the people that I helped are better off than they were before I started doing the work.
Yes, helping people, building legacy by helping people, it's something else. It will echo for our generation to generations to come. So, Mr. Ad, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you, Daniel. Please check out my website at poteat.com. I'm on Instagram at _Poteat. So please check me out again. My website is at poteat.com. My Instagram is at _Poteat. And hope to see you there.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Ad Poteat, because if you support him for sure, more and more affordable housing will rise. I have one more question, Mr. Ad. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about the way affordable housing gets built in America, one regulation, one funding stream, one political dynamic, what would it be?
Yeah. Have the federal government get back in the business of building affordable housing. They've been out of the business since the 80s, since Reagan, taking it back. To have them help our cities and help our states to build housing, because housing really should be a right, not something carried by the state or city, but directly by the federal government. Just really quick, that we spend $1 trillion on defense, we spend $50 billion on housing. If you cut our defense budget by 5%, you could double our housing production. So to have the federal government be interested in housing. That's my wish.
Magic wand, Mr. Ad. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate this.
Welcome, people. See you soon.